Hello, everybody. Welcome to Horror 101 with Dr. AC. My name is Aaron Christensen, and today we're going to be talking about a canine cornucopia. We've got Satan's Dog, aka Play Dead, or rather the other way around, Play Dead, aka Satan's Dog. However, you happen to know this movie, if you know this movie, and then Devil Dog, The Hound of Hell, which was made for American television and then received VHS releases across the world. These are two films, and I'm bringing in a couple of guests because everybody, I think everybody who's on our panel today worked on When Animals Attack, which was Vanessa's book from a few years back. So let me make my introductions of Vanessa Morgan, editor of you got When Animals Attack, you have Evil Seed,
Strange Bloods.
That's right. And then Gert Verbeek, Belgian filmmaker and awesome blood brother, and sometime co-host of Horror 101 with Dr. AC. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to talk about these two movies.
Oh, we had a lot of fun watching them again. So thank you.
I had never seen, I'd seen Devil Dog, Hound of Hell, but I had not seen Play Dead. And I think because it's known as Satan's Dog and Devil Dog, it's easy. And also there's, like Zoltan, Hound of Dracula. Like there was just a spate of these evil dog movies in the 70s. How did you come across them for the first time, Vanessa?
I found the VHS tapes on the market. And at that time I was really buying everything I hadn't yet seen. And so these were in there, and I watched them more or less at around the same time as well.
Now, neither of these movies are in your book, When Animals Attack, which surprised me until I actually watched them. And then I went, okay, I'm less surprised now.
Well, they will be in a new book, actually, but that's a story for much later. But yeah, the thing is, in When Animals Attack, everyone could actually choose their own favorite animal attack movie and then write about it. And these two films weren't just one of their favorites of my writers. And like you said, I can get why, because they're not like the best movies in terms of quality, but they're definitely a lot of fun.
They're very entertaining. Yeah. And Gert, how did you come across these movies? Because you're the reason that we watched these two in tandem as part of the care package you sent. You'd included Devil Dog, but Satan's Dog was new to me, and I was like, oh wait, what's I thought I'd seen it before, but it turns out I had not.
I plead guilty. It's my fault that you guys had to watch that. Well, the simple reason was just the fact that, if you want to pair two killer dog movies, regardless of the content, you just look at the titles,
right?
Satan's Dog and Devil Dog. It's like, okay, let's do this. I came across Devil Dog like years ago when rental stores were switching to DVDs, literally throwing out their tapes. So that's how I came to watch it first. And then Satan's Dog was just by coincidence also like tapes. We could choose whatever we want, and then we took it home. And I think when I showed Vanessa at some point the cover art, you were like, oh, I want to see this at some point. And now we did. And we watched it together actually a month ago.
Like a month ago or something. But I watched Satan's Dog or Play Dead also before, but a long time ago. I think both films, I watched them like 20 years ago, maybe longer.
Et voila. And I think, we're open to all tastes. And I will try anything at least once. But these kind of, Satan's Dog, aka Play That, it's the kind of movie, if you watch it again, make sure you're not alone the next time. Watch it with friends.
Yeah, I was
watching. You will be afraid.
Yeah, I was watching these alone, and I was like, I'm glad I get to talk about these because I have things I wanted to say. So let's go ahead and dive in, and let's talk about Play Dead, aka Satan's Dog. Even though it came out, later It's actually, I just noticed that it's celebrating a 40th anniversary. Who knew? So there you go. So does anybody want to try a synopsis of Play Dead, just to kind of lay that out there as to what the setup is?
You go ahead, Gert.
Can I do Devil Dog, please?
You could do both, actually.
Okay. No, please go ahead. Just
look at
Okay,
you,
so
totally shirking your
quite difficult.
responsibilities.
It's about an elderly lady who misses her former husband, who is now deceased. And she seems really crazy from the start, and she doesn't like her family very much. And she thinks they're after her money because it's a rich lady. And then she decides to put a demonic spell, or whatever you want to call it, onto the dog so that he can go and kill the family members. But the thing is, like, the way this dog kills everyone in the movie, because he kills quite a lot of people, it's just too crazy. I mean, he kills and strangles people with his leash. He electrocutes people. He poisons people. It's too crazy.
We'll definitely get into this, but I wasn't entirely sure of what Yvonne DiCarlo plays our main character, who is Aunt Hester. And I wasn't entirely sure what her scheme was, because I don't think she was married to him. I think she was like, they dated and then he decided to marry her sister. And we come in and she, the sister has just passed away. And now she's like, okay, now I can get him back.
Yeah, it's not entirely clear. Yeah.
No, there's so much that's not clear. Anyway, go ahead.
There's like, to comment on Erin, her motivations, it's kind of hinted at. I mean, she's still very much in love with the love she missed in her life,
right?
But she's become so disgruntled with the family members,
right?
Like out of jealousy and having missed her fortune and all that. So as far as motivations go, like, period. That's it.
For a moment, you started to talk and move like Yvonne DiCarlo in the movie.
She is very grand.
Yes.
Well, Erin, enlighten us about DiCarlo, because she's quite a lady, right? I mean, distinguished from.
Yeah, well, I mean, distinguished and also, like, she's probably best known to horror fans as Lily Munster from the TV show The Munsters. But she also did, a lot of like late career movies like these, where she was like, one of my favorites is American Gothic with her and Rod Steiger. So when she popped up in this, I'm like, okay, we're in for a good, because she's a very kind of grand performer. And but in terms of like getting back to Hester's motivations, like her method of like, okay, how are you going to bring back your former love, and is that the plan, or are you going to murder? Like, why do you need to murder everybody? It's just like, it just seems kind of like this. And why did you have to wait until the sister died before you could bring back your lost love? Because he died before she did. Like, the whole, like, it just seems very muddled in terms of her thinking. I love the fact that, yes, and she gets let's be clear about this, it's a Rottweiler, not a Rottweiler. It's a Rottweiler. I was like, Rottweiler? Like, did nobody ever bother to correct her throughout the entire film? It's like, it's not Rottweiler, Yvonne. It's Rottweiler. It's like, nope, she's going to call it a Rottweiler. And it's named Greta. And she's from the mysterious lands of Europe. Let's be clear. She's from Europe.
I mean, she's named Greta. I mean, really, it's like, I mean, in this day and age, I'm sure that if anybody mentions that name, only the three of us perhaps might go, oh yes, Satan's dog, right? And people will just like drop their jaw. And I think, well, it's basically a conversation stopper when it comes to the discussion of environmental crisis of nowadays and all that. She's named Greta.
Yep. It was one of those where I was like, I just love that, like, every time she's from Europe. She's from Europe. You know, it's very exotic. Well, the reason why it's so exotic is that, as we learned, like they're actually in Texas, but it takes us a long time to learn that we're in Texas because everything looks like you're in California because it was shot in California. I was like, Texas doesn't look like this, which all just kind of like leads to the fun of this movie. Like it's goofy and it feels like it's made for TV, but apparently it was, you know, like I had a theatrical release because it wasn't made for TV. But anyway, so as Greta is murdering the family members one by one, we have our police detective Otis, who is trying to solve the murders, and good old folksy actor Glenn Keezer, who is not an authentic Texan, but he brings a kind of down home quality to it. And I love that guy. I just thought he was great in terms of he's the most kind of like grounded of the performances.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
also
absolutely.
when the guy shows up in every scene that he has, whether interrogating or, you know, I mean, the scene of the crime, the victims, doing his work, he just stops doing what he needs to do and he begins to tell stories.
Yep.
To every person he sits down with. It's like, it's kind of entertaining, but it's not very convincing in terms of being a police officer doing his.
And it's taking up a long time, these conversations.
Oh yeah. Well, he has to pad out this running time because really there's only. So let's talk through some of the murders. Like you kind of touched on some of them, Vanessa, but like the first murder, I think, is when the brother gets scared into traffic. Is that right? Yeah. So,
Vanessa, what did you think? Because that kind of got our attention.
That was a really weird murder because the dog actually didn't do anything. He just scared the man and then he fell backwards and the car hit him.
Right.
That was a thing that got the entire police investigation going, and it was too crazy.
But yeah. It did something with the, you know, the acceleration. How do you call it? Changement de vitesse. That you know, put the car in neutral, and then it just rolled off. It did something.
Well, right at the end,
and I was like, why?
Yeah, but that didn't kill the man. That just happened later.
That just got the car out of this picture.
Yeah.
Greta goes in mysterious ways.
Well, I felt like this was like a Final Destination movie because the way that Greta murders everybody, it always looks just like an accident.
Yeah.
Well, this murder, the first murder, is kind of the best or most memorable because I can't remember even the other ones that the dog is involved in.
Well,
okay,
the leash in the park. That's definitely the best one for me.
Yeah.
Which one?
The one where he strangles a man with his leash.
He strangles
in the middle
fiance.
of a park, in the middle of the day, with a lot of people around them, and no one sees anything.
Okay, scratch my previous comment. That was a good one. And it happened in like, what, 5 seconds? Nobody noticed.
Nope.
And the one in the bathroom was also...
Yes.
Yeah.
Which also I'm kind of like, why did the neighbor had to get murdered? I'm like, why did you murder the? See, this is my question. I'm like, is the whole setup that like Hester's trying to make it so that look like that Audrey, who's the young heroine, that Audrey is responsible for all these murders, and like he's trying to get Audrey framed and sent away for murder. It's just like this just seems like such an elaborate way of going about it.
And also, the neighbor takes a bath.
Right.
In another house. That's just a totally normal thing to do.
That was funny. It's like, what the hell? You go to another house and just get undressed and take a bath.
Talking about getting undressed, let's talk about the
sex
scene.
Let's
very, very elaborate sex scene. Or a foreplay scene, or whatever you should call it.
What I wrote down was even bland people have sex lives.
No, we need to seriously address that sex scene nudity thing, because I mean the guy, their friend just died,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I can understand there's a certain catharsis to like right afterwards having sex to celebrate life and all that. I mean, okay. But the way it was filmed and done in this movie is
Mhm.
too much, really. We're going in, we're taking our time to undress and all that. We're seeing a lot, and we're going into close-ups. Seriously, what kind of film is this?
Well, it's okay. So this is actually an interesting point because this felt like a real sex scene in that, like, this is how real people like
Yeah.
it's slow and it's clumsy and like I was like, this is why Hollywood always kind of like classes it up a little bit and makes it a sexier scene, because regular sex scenes are weird and clunky. And it's like, that's why you don't want to have sex tapes, folks. Is because nobody's going to look like you look in the movies. And this was like a non-Hollywood sex scene. I'm like, this is where couples start standing up and they unbutton. And I was just like, wow, this is like almost like a documentary of like how people who haven't had sex before have sex.
But they still try to like stage it in a bit of a appealing way, because they took their time with the lighting and it's not like a handheld camera and like, okay, undress. No,
right.
How long does it last? I think it's easily 5 minutes. No.
Oh yeah, it's a long scene.
A long time.
It lasted so long. I mean, hilarity
in my memory, yes. I think it lasted as definitely 5 minutes or something.
Well, voila, it's a scene we remember from the movie, so
yeah,
exactly.
Did something right or wrong. I don't know.
But anyway, yeah. So Jeff and Audrey are a couple, and Audrey again is Hester's niece, and Jeff is her boyfriend, and they're like they talked about getting serious, and this is their first time that they've actually consummated the relationship. And then Jeff gets murdered with the dog leash in the park, and again, it's something that Greta has set up where something gets left behind, and Jeff sits down to have a little nap by the tree, and then the cord gets wrapped around his hand is like stuck in there, and I'm like, wait, wouldn't that keep you from not getting choked? But it's like they made it look like they set it up that like he strangled himself. I'm like, he strangled himself?
They're not the brightest set of investigators.
They're not. But I do like kind of like that Final Destination quality to the film, that it's like, everything is set up to be this like wild accident, and yet all the evidence points to Audrey. Like all the murders are happening around her. And watching her, that actress, let me just grab her name really quick, Stephanie Dunham, because she's like, watching her react to these murders is like, oh, this is why you didn't have a career. Jeff's only crime was being bland, and for that he must die. And Audrey's only crime is being bland and being a bad actor.
Oh, Aaron.
You're in a good mood today.
I'm not going to repeat any of that. I mean, in fact, I only had I could think of what can I contribute to this movie review? I came up with only one or two things. But unless Vanessa wants to take over.
What this movie does so well is just it's so ridiculous overall, which makes it extremely entertaining. And the dog's murders are truly creative.
Yes, agreed. And I mean, actually, they do. Our director does some, slow motion every time the dog is coming in for preceding a murder. It goes into slow mo, and there's some intercutting back and forth, kind of like Easy Rider style.
That is actually, I'm gonna get serious now. Okay.
Uh-oh.
No, really, this amazed me. I could even, look up to this film, that it somehow pays homage to Sergei Eisenstein, his pioneering work in editing. He was a Soviet filmmaker, and what he defined with the editing is, for instance, what they call a parallel montage.
Right.
The cross-cutting thing that you just mentioned.
Right.
And I was staring in awe at how they cut that together, thinking back a century of cinema history. And cross-cutting is basically like juxtaposing two images that take place at a different time or even a different location,
Right.
and then putting them together so that the viewer connotates or relates to it, deriving a different meaning from it.
Yes.
And that was like, seriously? And I don't want to give the movie too much credit. Huh?
Well, I was say, I feel like this is something that he read or saw in film school, and he's like, "Hey, I could do that in my movie. I could do that with my killer dog movie. This will be great."
Yeah.
Honestly, I was, given what the movie is, I'm not even sure that they went to film school. It surfaced again on American soil in the 70s a lot. Like you said, late 60s, early 70s,
Right.
Easy Rider. I mean, a lot of those people were probably aware from it, but the filmmakers behind Play Dead, aka Satan's Dog, I don't know.
I think they probably. I think they probably stole it from Easy Rider rather than Eisenstein.
Yeah,
What were you
I
gonna say-
have
what were you
a
gonna say, Vanessa?
question.
Yeah.
It's when I was watching the film again, I had the impression that there was a very serious intent behind making this movie, and they wanted to make a serious film. If you look at the acting from Yvonne De Carlo, for example, or sometimes the way it is shot, it seems like they wanted to make a serious movie.
Yes.
Or do you guys think that they intentionally made it so funny and a bit silly?
I think they had the best of intentions. I think they were trying to make a good movie,
Yeah.
and which is my favorite kind of turkey. You know, like if you're gonna,
Exactly.
it's like you're not trying to make Sharknado. You know, you're making like this is about, you know, Satan's dog, and there's a Rottweiler that's out there just, you know, murdering. I'm like, that because they're so earnest about it, that actually makes it all the more enjoyable.
Yeah, that's what I think. What do you think, Gert?
I totally agree with both of you.
Mm-hmm.
This film was intended rather seriously, and I think Yvonne De Carlo also took her role seriously.
Oh,
she
yes.
even has a
Very
very emotional,
seriously.
psychological moment that she's in front of the mirror somewhere. What it is all about, I don't know, but they were taking it serious. And I agree with Aaron also that it's more enjoyable to see something like this because you can still respect their efforts being
Mhm.
genuine instead of.
Mhm.
Now, I won't spoil the ending for anybody who does see it, but I have to say I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised at how Yvonne De Carlo's character Hester treated her familiar that had done all this fine work for her, and then I liked her comeuppance at the end as well.
Yeah,
I thought it was a fun, because I did not see that coming. I didn't see either of those coming. I was like, wow, I didn't think you were going to do that. And then I really didn't think that was going to be how it came back.
Which also, again, not wanting to spoil anything, it gets foreshadowed during the opening credits.
Right.
And this right now has me thinking like maybe this whole parallel montage, juxtapositioning, editing, it came from the editor who actually did go to film school and studied cinema history.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it was, done in editing, all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure
trying to class it up in the end. Since he was stuck with a dog on his hands.
Oh, hey, dog, indeed. Well, Vanessa, do you remember that we were talking about this film? And do you remember something about poetry?
No.
Because you guys also mentioned this film was like attempted to be so serious. And then I read the synopsis on the back cover, and seriously, they were, I think, with describing the whole thing, they were trying to rival Edgar Allan Poe or something. I could propose that I give it a short read. And
please.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, the oral interpretation of the back cover of Play Dead, aka Satan's Dog.
Pure greed festered inside her. All that money, the properties, the sheer unadulterated wealth was taunting her night and day. She had to possess it. Nobody would stand in her way and survive. That's when she screamed her oath to the devil. The dog's nostrils sifted the night air. It had scented the warm blood of its first victim.
Wow. Thank you. You and Devon DiCarlo could be great scene partners.
Yeah.
On that heady note, let's switch over to Devil Dog, The Hound of Hell from 1978, which again was made for American television, which is not where I'm guessing you two discovered it. Did you find it in another VHS bin?
On VHS tape.
Because I remember seeing this back in the day, and then I remember seeing it again when it did get released to VHS. It stars Richard Crenna, Yvette Mimieux, and Ike Eisenman and Kim Richards, who I knew as the Disney kids from Escape from Witch Mountain and Return to Witch Mountain. Return to Witch Mountain came out in 1978, same year as this film. And it's Tony and Tina, who are, both a couple of supernatural Disney kids. So they played brother and sister 3 times in their career, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Yeah. This is also 1978. It was the same year that Richard Crenna did The Evil. And it's directed by Curtis Harrington, who we know from a lot of great films like Queen of Blood.
Night Tides.
And Night Tide, exactly.
The second thing what amazed me is that these 2 films, Devil Dog, which is kind of understandable maybe still, but also Play Dead, have been restored to Blu-ray in a crispy clean version. How about that?
Because people needed this film in their library.
I think so. I agree.
So anybody want to give us the lead in on this one?
Vanessa, will you do the no, you did the first.
I did the first one. Now
this is the one you said you wanted to do this one.
I did, and I hoped you've forgotten. Anyway,
I'm trying to throw you the ball. Anyway, carry on. What?
Short and sweet. Okay. I'm gonna translate something from Dutch. Here you go. Back cover synopsis.
You can read it in Dutch.
What happened?
You can read it in Dutch.
No. Richard Crenna and Yvette Mimieux, like not their characters relating in the story, but just Richard Crenna and Yvette Mimieux.
Yes.
In a frightening, terrifying nightmare about a happy family being tormented by a devilish terror. It starts with the arrival of a cute little puppy, and it soon turns out to be a very devilish creature. Is that enough, or should I go more in depth?
That's pretty good.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah. Well, so the basic setup is that like their dog dies, and our nefarious devil worshiper, the leader of the cult, is played by Martine Beswick, who did several like Hammer films. Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, Prehistoric Women. But she is leading this satanic cult, and they have all these demonic puppies that they are handing out to people. And what with Kim Richards' dog dying, they're like, here's a puppy for you on your birthday. And so Archie Armstrong, who you've seen in a zillion horror films, he's in Children of the Corn, he's in Evil Speak, but he is the one who hands off the puppy, and they take it home, and it grows up, and of course starts running the family.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting about this one is that the dog isn't just like killing people like in Play Dead,
right?
But he's actually having like a telepathic connection to the people around him, to the family. And the weird thing is they're not even doing much. They're just like become cold to family members, and they start behaving weird, but only after a year. But they don't really do that much with it in the sake of evil. So it's kind of a weird film.
I kind of found it an interesting, wait for it, elevating touch to that film. That it's also about the evil influencing their domestic space and spreading, thanks to the devil hound from hell. I kind of like that.
Of the many crimes that the devil dog commits, it sets the housekeeper on fire. It almost like forces Richard Crenna to shove his hand in a lawnmower. It forces Yvette Mimieux to take midnight naked swims in the neighbor's pool. Then it kills the neighbor. After it kills the neighbor's Great Dane, the Sons wins the class presidency after creating this crime against his competitor. The neighbors get murdered. The school counselors get seduced. I mean, this devil dog must be stopped.
Absolutely. And that's what I meant with it's not just the dog. It's more like the evil is spreading, influencing everybody.
Send him to dog training.
That's right. He just needs to go to a kennel for a couple of years.
Reformation.
I think this dog's devil dog costume, because he's just a regular German Shepherd most of the time, but when he turns into the devil dog, when we see his true form, I was like, that dog has an awesome devil dog costume. I want that to be I want somebody to dress their dog up as the devil dog for Halloween and walk around with it.
Plus, they did a different techniques to portray him, like photographic effects, colorization effects. I mean, that was a fun thing.
I also thought the devil artwork that's up on the wall. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And the name of the dog is great as well. Well, not really the dog. The dog's name is Lucky, but the creature behind it, Barghast. Right. I thought that was really cool.
That caused some giggles.
They
should have kept that name for their dog.
Yeah, indeed.
And then Mike is the character that Richard Crenna plays, and he eventually, as you said, Vanessa, it's the dog kind of starts taking over the family, they're almost kind of possessed. And so they're under the influence of the dog, and Mike is the only one who's able to avoid it. And he comes upstairs and he finds they're doing a ritual trying to bring that devil into our realm. And he eventually has to go to Mexico, I think, to find
Ecuador, I think.
Oh, Ecuador. Thank you. Yes.
That was a nice little touch. Okay, they're taking it out of the suburban setting, and we get a bit more backstory to the whole thing. As ridiculous it may be, it was entertaining.
And also something that might be worth mentioning is, okay, we're talking about a devil dog movie, but I also see it as kind of an offspring of The Omen.
Oh, yes.
And
I would say for
The
sure.
Omen, Damien has a dog. He also has a devil dog. And this comes 2 years later.
Yep.
And there's so many similarities, with the scene where the father holds up a mirror in front of his daughter's face during the night to check if she's really under the influence of the creature. And that reminded me so much of the scene in which the father in The Omen shaved the scalp of his son to find 666 on it.
Yep.
So for me, it's really kind of the child of The Omen and Damien.
Well, I think, post 1973, everything, the more you could bring the devil into, and the fact that it had kind of watered itself down to American television at this point, where you could have in prime time, you could be having this movie about, a devil dog, and people would actually tune in and watch it.
Yeah, and also this one came after the killer dog movies, Dogs and the Pack.
Right.
Well, I think it also was an influence on this one. But
I think you're absolutely right, Vanessa. It's especially with The Omen also, it's visually, it's not the same film at all. But the underlying theme is really, they're getting Satan or the devil or its offspring into a domestic setting of a family that will take it over at some point. And, the dog is adopted too. Damien was adopted too.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have a good point there.
Well, quick question is I don't know. Did you ever get the Doberman movies that came out in like the 70s? There was like the Doberman Gang and the Amazing
Yeah,
Dobermans.
I've seen them, but a long time ago.
Because that was like the early 70s, all the way through the 70s. And it's like, I feel like there was kind of like, there was Benji, like there was a whole fascination with dogs, it kind of being the center of a film. And then the whole fascination with Satanism. So it's like, this seemed like a perfect blend. We'll put the wild dogs together with the Satan. It's like, okay, now we have a.
And also at a certain point around that time, people were really afraid of Dobermans and Rottweilers.
Right.
And now it seems that this is just an idea, because people were training these dogs to protect them. And then they thought that these dogs were dangerous, but they're actually not more dangerous than any other breed of dog.
Right.
But people really believed it back then. It was like, okay, you have a Doberman or you have a Rottweiler. These are dangerous by nature. And that's just not true.
Well, and I think also this is in the heyday of the animals attack. Like the 70s was when eco horror was in full swing. We'd already had, Jaws and Grizzly and Day of the Animals and Food of the Gods. I mean, like the idea of an animals attacking was a popular subgenre.
Mm-hmm.
It caught on quickly with the dog phenomena. You could see it in so many. Suddenly, there were so many genre movies with dogs popping up.
Right.
Which also makes sense from a production point of view, because I mean, you could actually train these and work with them.
Right. This concept for this story, I was doing a little research, and it seems like it's very similar to an episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker, where a dog was, an emissary of the devil. So that preceded this, and perhaps they'd kind of spun that idea out into this film.
Okay, I'm not sure if I've seen that one.
Yeah, that's funny and accurate, I guess, Aaron, that a lot of the cinematic ideas in theatrical features trickled down to television, got adapted,
right,
and sometimes even vice versa. They kept just like a whole phenomena going for almost a decade during the 70s. So
yeah,
or
but honestly, they look so cute.
What?
The dogs in the movies, they look so adorable.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be Satan's dogs and devil's dogs, but still, they're adorable.
Yeah.
Agreed. Would you like to have a fun interlude now that we are talking about dogs?
Please.
Well, I'll list up a couple of other dogs, both of you, Aaron and Vanessa, just back and forth like ping pong, and you can tell me who would win.
Okay,
sure.
That's fun. Mm-hmm.
Sounds fun. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We're going the dog versus dog bracket.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with this first double bill, Aaron. Satan's dog versus devil dog. Who would win?
Oh, I think devil dog, hands down, paws down.
Yeah.
Because he's an emissary of the devil, as opposed to Greta, who's just a regular old Rottweiler.
Yeah, yes. And also with Greta, it's basically Hester who's doing the thinking for him. And she's not that intelligent. So, yeah, definitely devil dog.
Okay, my take on it was it's a cursed dog versus, a dog with the powers of Beelzebub.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Vanessa.
So, devil dog advances to the next round.
Yeah.
Vanessa, Cujo versus devil dog.
Ooh.
Again, Cujo he's a good boy, basically. So no, devil dog again. It's Barghest. Devil dog is Barghest. Of course, Barghest is winning.
Yes, and Cujo is just a rabid dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Aaron, you mentioned him already. Zoltan versus devil dog.
Ooh. Okay. So now we got the forces of darkness versus the forces of darkness. I would give Devil Dog the edge only because his costume is better, and Zoltan's fangs often look a little fragile, like they're going to fall out of his mouth. So I would say I'm going to go with Devil Dog, but I think it's going to be a good game.
And also with Zoltan, he needs his master, right?
Right.
So
there you go.
Barghest doesn't need any master.
And that would have been my argument if you've seen Zoltan, Hound of Dracula. I don't think his master did a very good job in training him to be evil
Mhm.
anyway. So,
Yeah.
okay, Devil Dog wins. Next round. Vanessa, do you remember Max, the dog?
Oh yeah, that's from Man's Best Friend.
Absolutely. Max versus Devil Dog.
Devil Dog is always winning.
Ah, good.
Why are we even discussing this?
Devil
course.
Dog, yeah, Devil Dog. Devil Dog is like the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was playing.
There you go. Max was just a genetically enhanced canine.
Yeah, Max is like the local criminal against a devilish creature.
See, I feel like Devil Dog should have to sit out a few rounds, and then like whoever wins in the lower brackets has to fight Devil Dog.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna up the game a little bit. Dogs, you have a whole packet, 30-something dogs against Devil Dog. Aaron.
I mean, if they were, because you were able to eventually, confuse Devil Dog long enough that you could, cast the spell. I don't know that the dogs are going to be able to tattoo, on their their pads and be able to, confuse Devil Dog long enough. But because there's so many of them, maybe I'll give them the element of surprise and confusion.
But then
That's
maybe I would go for the pack, because in the pack, these dogs are hungry and abandoned. So they're out for revenge and food. So you put a lot of hungry dogs together. Okay, then the Devil Dog is got to run.
Okay, Vanessa, you got a
He's
case.
going to be the food for the pack of dogs.
I mean, they can outnumber them, Devil Dog, that's for sure. But okay, two more. Vanessa, one of your favorites, Baxter versus Devil Dog.
Yeah, but Baxter is just like a poor guy to start with.
He does get away with everything.
It's definitely like a very bad temper, but it's just a miserable dog.
Yeah. I think Baxter and Greta would get along very well together.
Yeah, probably.
Likely.
Yeah.
And still, I mean, Baxter is basically he's an introvert. He keeps talking to himself the whole movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. So Devil Dog wins probably every game so far. So the last one for you, Aaron, Lassie versus Devil Dog.
Well, I don't know, because Lassie is like unequivocal good. So it'd be unequivocal good up against, unequivocal evil. And maybe, just maybe, because, Lassie's very hard to resist. And perhaps Lassie would show Devil Dog the error of his ways and take him over to the good side.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
As far as I'm concerned, to wrap up this ball game match there, I think if there's one dog that can beat Devil Dog, it's probably Lassie, because he's so smart. His intelligence will outsmarten everything Devil Dog may be up to. So anyway,
Lassie.
Well done. That was fun. That was fun, Garrett.
Okay.
Any final comments on our double feature?
I would say Devil Dog is definitely a better movie, because it's really it's kind of well made, and also because it's a TV movie, there are some rules and standards to be followed in terms of screenplay and the tempo of the movie, the actors, and so forth. So that makes it a better fun, but it's also a little bit like the other one. It has a lot of nonsensical moments.
Right.
But what makes this one maybe a little bit less good than the other one is just because the murderers are not that creative.
Right.
There's a lot when it's easy to find some favorite scenes in Satan's Dog, play that. But here, for me, in my opinion at least, the murders are more bland. Well, it's made for it should be kind of kind and everything. But I had more fun still with Devil Dog than with the other one.
Yeah, I think the murders in Devil Dog mostly happen off screen. Like we hear about the murders rather than actually seeing the murders. Whereas in Play Dead, like we get to see them played out in slow motion, intercut, and it's as you say, it's a lot more fun and entertaining of an experience, even though Devil Dog is perhaps the better made film.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like you said, Aaron. I mean, yes, with the kills and all that, and Vanessa also preferring the kills of Play Dead. We need to remind ourselves that Play Dead was a theatrical released movie, and they might have all be more careful with the made-for-TV Devil Dog.
Sure.
So,
I feel like just to interrupt really quick, I'm amazed that this movie played anywhere in 1983. Like the idea that this got into theaters anywhere, I'm like, wow, like it feels so made for TV, except for the weird nudity parts.
Play Dead, you mean? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, around in that era, there were so many independent films getting made, low budget, and they found their way in small theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know how that went in America, but it happened. So
yeah, I never heard of this movie. Like in the 80s, like it certainly never played in any theater near me.
Well, okay. Well, from my end, comparing the two, okay, it's clear already. I like Devil Dog a lot more than Play That. I do have to say something about the ending of Devil Dog. It kind of skips a beat there. It misses a missed opportunity, because everything is resolved, but there are the puppies somewhere out there. And the thing is, we don't get to see them. The son reminds the dad of like, what about the puppies? But they had such a good opportunity when the car drives off on the street because they move out or whatever. The only thing they had to do is like pan the camera to the lawn or something of another house with a little kid with a puppy, and boom.
Right.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we already knew from another scene in the film that it's happening all over town.
Right.
So that the puppies had been distributed all over, and that it's happening in other families and with other dogs as well. So we already knew that.
Yeah, but it's the missed opportunity of showing
to show a little bit more puppies. That's really
just showing the thing visually, the venom in the end, instead of having some characters say like, "Hey, they're still puppies," and Crenna going like, and that missed opportunity.
But that's so kind of typical of the 70s. The kind of the end, or is it? That idea of like the evil is still out there.
Yeah,
it kind of that enforces my point.
I know. I'm not
because everybody was doing it now.
What we needed was the editor from Play Dead to step in, because clearly they knew what they were doing, and they would have given you that shot.
Yes.
Well, the point is that they never shot it. Probably that shot, unless they did, and the producer decided no, it's a happy family movie.
It's also probably because we're 1 year later in the film, so they're not puppies anymore.
They're not puppies anymore.
So they're just like big dogs everywhere. So they're talking about the puppies, but they're not puppies anymore.
Dogs breed, evil breeds. Okay, sorry.
Ooh,
you're right.
I see what you're doing there.
But we also get to see in the film that if you have a really strong personality, just like Richard Crenna, the father figure, then it doesn't work.
That's right.
So,
true. Richard Crenna was the ace of the script sleeve. I would say
that. All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for chiming in. I didn't think we were going to have this much to talk about with these two dog movies, but it was very enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to having you both back again. Keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.